emotional. This woman, every time I think she can't make me any more emotional, she does.
This is going to be a Caesar salad. We'll have a French egg.
Hi, good morning. Shane's here. Are you there, Shane? There he is.
Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep the AirPods in so I can hear better.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm out on the porch. Got my Kofifi, and this is Pastor Shane. He's one of my moderators. And this is Men's Mental Health Care Month. And so I found a real live man to talk about men's mental health care. And neither one of us are professionals. So it's going to be sort of a relaxed, just talk about it. What do you want to start off with, Shane?
I mean, I guess we could start off with the stigma.
Yeah.
If you want.
That's big.
Actually, so this is one of the first shirts that I designed. I put the hashtag on the bottom.
Nice.
Hope breaks stigma as a new hashtag to break the stigma around mental health.
Nice.
And that goes for all ages. This shirt was designed in honor of my son, who has been diagnosed with unspecified bipolar based on age. It's not something that they like to diagnose in a youth, but
it's very hard to diagnose at a youth.
But we see all the trends, and because he was in and out of hospitals enough and it was the same hospital treating him, they gave him that diagnosis.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like the honor of him, but also trying to advocate for mental health in general, because the stigma is the biggest and hardest thing that we all see out there.
Was it hard for him to ask for help?
In a way, yes. So it was, I want to say, a struggle and a battle, both as a parent and for him, because I think he didn't understand his losing control. So we are a couple years into it, and he still can lose control. And that's part of the unspecified bipolar, but he could act like he's fine 1 minute, but then the next minute he could turn and something could upset him, and he'll unfortunately hold it in long enough till he explodes.
Yeah.
And that kind of, in a way, segments into men's mental health, because I feel like most men don't talk about it. Most men don't speak about it. The stigma is around a man sitting there and saying, hey, I'm not okay, emotionally, mentally, and so forth, turns into, oh, you're a weak man. You're not an alpha if you express. But really, I look at that and say, if you're a man and you say that you're struggling, you need help, or you reach out to even a friend and talk to them, you're showing more strength there than the ones that just hold it all in and don't say anything.
Right. Okay. And Preeti and the moderators in here, if you see anyone trolling, making unkind comments, anything like that, don't even take a screenshot of it. Report them and kick them out. Nobody gets a second chance. I looked up some statistics on it. It's actually very sad. It says 1 in 8 men reporting experiencing symptoms. 1 in 8 men have symptoms. But anybody saying something like man up, and if you're not specifying if you're joking or not, you're going to be kicked out instantly. So Tade, you better either apologize immediately or you're going to be out. You have about 30 seconds. 19% have been diagnosed with a mental health care condition. How it says only 40% of men with mental health care with an illness, and that's with a diagnosed illness, received care, but that was back in 2021. Did you find it difficult to find help for your son?
So, unfortunately, especially youth clinics, there's not a lot. And the problem that I find with the mental health system right now, as it exists in the United States, is most of those clinics are a 5 to 14 day in and out clinic. And then all they did was give you medicine. Medicine takes at least a month to start actually working in most cases, depending on the medicine.
Yeah.
Every time you go in and out, depending on the doctor you see, depends on if they switch the medicine.
Right.
So if you go in and out of hospitals 2 to 3 times a month, you could be on 3 to 5 different medicines at least. And
Right.
I look at that and say, well, how are you giving the medicine a chance to see if it works at that point?
Well, and I'm certainly not a doctor, but what I've seen from working in a grade school is there are children that are showing symptoms even in grade school. Mm-hmm. However, the psychotropic medications on the market were all tested on adults. And so a lot of them don't work on anybody who's very young, or they only work somewhat, or they work the wrong way.
Or in some cases, the doses are too strong and they don't have a dose that can work in children.
Exactly. It takes Lori says it takes at least 2 weeks to be effective. At least. I mean, I would think that would be just at 2 weeks, you would just maybe start to be seeing a little, either you're improving or you're not improving. And
correct. And then the problem is when the clinics some of them are 5 to 7 days and you're out the door, they don't even know if the medication's working. And
then if you want, I had somebody else, I don't know if they're going to be in here, I don't remember their ID, but they said that they had one of their male family members was trying to get help, and they got him into like a facility, like you said, like it was only for like a week. And then they were like, well, they really haven't improved. And the only other choice was a private facility. Mm-hmm. That was incredibly expensive. And they actually scraped the money together to get their loved one there. And they said it wasn't easy, but it actually helped them. It shouldn't be that hard.
I mean, I don't disagree. And I think I've only seen the facilities or hospitals from a youth standpoint. I can only imagine the hospitals when it comes to an adult trying to seek help. And then the problem is, because you're an adult, you're supposed to be more self-sufficient. So whereas youth tend to have, depending on their school district, have a way of like a therapeutic reintegration plan that can happen.
Yeah.
Adults don't have that a lot of times. And then it's a matter of, is your outpatient therapist or who got assigned to you able to meet with you right away, able to meet with you on a stable basis?
Right.
Able to meet with you a couple times a week, especially in that transition period of going from regimen therapy sessions and group sessions throughout the day to now you're back to real life. Now you're back to work. Now you're back to all the stressors that were there before. And dealing with those stressors, did you learn enough in that 5 days, 7 days to handle those? In most cases, the answer is no.
Right. What have you yourself experienced, like, with the stigma? I mean, because I did not grow up male. I mean, I was, luckily, I had a very loving, encouraging mother who encouraged the expression of emotions, happy, sad, or anything. That's probably why I do that here, because I'm comfortable with it. But I know as a society, we still come down on men, and I mean, I don't expect men to, like, be these stoic non-crying automatons that it seems like a great deal of our society does.
I mean, I feel like my age group, roughly anywhere from like 35 to 45, we tend to be the in between. We are the ones that we are trying to teach our kids to express their emotions, and it doesn't matter the gender.
Yeah,
But growing up, I mean, this stigma was always there that as a male presenting or as a man, you're not supposed to show those emotions.
yeah,
If you cried, which, I mean, if you get perfect example, you know, I got bullied growing up. I got punched in the chest, lost my breath, but ended up in tears. So then what's the first thing that happens? The other kids pick on you because you cried, or you get told to, as some of the troll comments have said this morning, man up.
right.
Um, and it's those type comments that you hear over and over and over again. And it's that stigma that the man is supposed to be the rock and not show the emotion. Unfortunately, what that leads to in those that I've talked to, different places I've worked, is that those men end up turning to things to drown their feelings into.
Hmm.
So instead of addressing the underlying issue of what's calling those emotions to be there, they drown them in a bottle or pill form or whatever it
Right,
is.
something
Something
illegal
to
substances,
correct. I
something
was
to
trying to
numb
be
you.
I was trying to be TikTok PC.
Yeah,
I didn't know which word was allowed.
I don't know either. But
Um,
I think that
Educational purposes.
yes, well, it is, and this is just like I said. Neither one of us are licensed mental health care providers.
Correct.
I guess I've just always been sort of horrified when now I'm 58 and I'll see somebody like maybe from my class, so we're the same age, and they'll be saying something like, a parent died, and they're like, this is the second time in my adult life that I've cried, and I'm like, what? I mean, I completely lost track of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine feeling like, well, the death of, say, one of my fur babies or something like that, and you're not allowed to cry. That, to me, I actually couldn't probably do it. I can't, I've never been able to stuff emotions. And,
There was a time in my life when I could.
yeah, you're
Um,
probably much healthier now.
I would say my 20s
Mm-hmm.
is probably a good time frame.
Yep.
Um, where at least like the sadness emotion, I tried to bottle up or only show alone.
Yeah.
Um, More so now, I feel like I show my emotions are on my sleeve most times. If I'm angry, you're gonna know I'm angry. If I'm sad, you're gonna know I'm sad for the most
Yep.
part. If I'm happy, that'll come
Yep.
out too.
Yeah.
But
And what you touched on before about using substances, it says men are more likely than women to misuse drugs and alcohol, just period.
mhm.
Men are twice as likely to binge drink than women and are more likely to misuse illegal substances than women. So instead of just getting it out, you have to take something to numb it.
Yep. And I mean, I used to work in the restaurant industry, and I was probably like one of the only servers that was the mindset of, well, nope, I got work at 6 a.m. I'm not going out and drinking the day and the emotions away. I'm
Right.
going home, sleeping for 4 hours, and then going
Yeah.
to the next job. But most of my colleagues, when I was working in kitchens and stuff like that, they'd all drink.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some pretty bad binge drinking in my lifetime. I mean, I would say I probably partook of it when I was 19, but I certainly couldn't do that now. And it's just, I'd rather just let it out than try to bottle it up. So,
Definitely. I mean, sometimes like, so from a male perspective, I still sometimes feel like it's hard. Um, so I have a lack of trust sometimes with doctors, depending on what they say to me. I've had some bad ones in the past. And then finding the right person that you can tell those things to as well as a
yeah,
friend. Sometimes it's hard because I've had things I've said used against me.
yeah,
So unfortunately, I saw a video or a meme talking about men's mental health, and it basically said if a man opens up to you and you use it against them, they will never tell you the truth of how they're feeling again.
no,
And I was like, that hits home so hard because it's like if I said, like, for example, if I said, "Hey, I'm not okay, I'm struggling," and the person goes, "Oh, I thoughts and prayers,"
yeah, thoughts
like,
and prayers.
okay, great, I'm never coming to you again and saying anything. Then that would be where that would end. And I
Um,
know there's a couple people on this app that have said similar stuff, like when they've posted videos of them struggling with their mental health, and they weren't looking for the "Hey, reach out anytime" or anything like that. They were just for accountability for where they were at that time, making that video and to bring awareness to mental health.
and I guess sometimes, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what to say, and I do have several male friends that have reached out and confided in me, and I think a lot of times the important thing is to sit and listen because I'm not you shouldn't be I'm not I can't fix you, and or tell you you're doing something wrong. But then also, at least if I'm saying, yeah, I am here for you, then that if you're saying that to somebody, then however you reach out to them, whether it's through text message or phone calls or a DM through Instagram, then you reach out periodically and just say, hey, I'm checking in on you. How's things going? How are
Mm-hmm.
you doing? What's your heart feel like? Do you think something like that is a good plan of action?
I do. I've used that with friends throughout the years. I have friends that we live in the same town and we keep saying like we need to get together, and it
Yeah.
never happens with work schedules and things like that. But I'll find a meme that is an encouraging meme, or I'll just sit there and message and be like, "Hey, I hope you're doing okay." And it might be once a month, it might be every week, it might just be, "Oh no, I'm thinking about them today. I need to check in on them." Like there's a reason why I'm thinking about them today, and sometimes it's that they're not okay. Is
Right.
the reply. Um, and then I have friends that every day, like, we'll send the dumbest Snapchat picture. It's like we're at work again. Nope, we're in hell again.
Right.
Type situation, but it's like that you're still alive message basically.
I think, um, Pastor Shane, you can see all of the stuff in here, can't you?
I can see the comments. It's a little farther away. I do have a friend, Daniel, that because it's your platform, asked if he can come up for a bit. It's completely up to you.
Um,
I don't
I'm
mind.
sorry, he's a therapist, you said?
No, he's a good friend,
Oh,
but
Daniel
he has.
Alexander?
Yep, he fought for trans rights in New York with me and everything else. So
Uh, Daniel, I don't have an option to invite you in. I don't, yeah, it won't. I have no. Have you had trouble in lives recently, Daniel?
he was on yesterday, and there was no trouble last night. Oh,
Oh, there he is.
there he
Maybe
is.
I thought it was grayed out.
Is it working?
Good morning.
Okay, can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, I don't know why it isn't. Hold on.
Let's see. I want to see your pretty face.
Hey, there I am. I don't know about I got hit in the face with I own a mobile coffee shop, and one of the signs hit me in the face the other day. So
I don't see your face,
I
buddy.
took the brunt of it. Here,
Yeah,
let
we've
me
got
do
a
this.
really bad echo right now.
Hold on, I'm gonna.
Hang on. Okay, wait a second. He dropped. Okay, now is the echo gone? Something is not working.
I think the
here.
echo's gone.
Okay. Let me see if I can find him again. All right, Daniel. Daniel, say something in chat, would you? Guys, you shouldn't have to have, but I mean, sometimes when we start getting more people in, TikTok starts freaking out.
I mean, I muted mine immediately to try to alleviate any of that.
Okay, I'm trying to bring him in again. We'll see if that... Don't worry about the camera. We'll just see if it works with audio. I'm still getting it.
Okay, let me see if I can find some headphones, and I'll.
Okay. You shouldn't have to have headphones. That's just weird because you and I don't have them.
Well, I mean, I have my AirPods, so maybe my AirPods throwing things off.
I don't. Maybe I should get headphones. I can go grab my set too. I don't have fancy AirPods though. Glitch talk. Yes, thank you, Hot Sauce.
It is definitely glitch talk, Hot Sauce.
Okay. All right, hang on. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh no, I'm left alone on Rosie's live. Whatever will we do?
Okay. And I've got a... Okay. Can I hear myself? Say something, Shane.
Hello?
Oh, there you are. Okay.
All right, still there.
I can hear you. So when Daniel comes back, that'll be great. But I know that one of the big things... okay, thank you, Christy. Peanut Gallery won't help anything. Well, we're experimenting. One of the huge things we have in Nebraska is, I think we only have 350 mental health care beds for the whole state.
And that alone is not enough for most cases.
Yeah.
I think I was either in a live or a video I saw, they only had one youth facility in the entire state. And I was like, well, how do you address mental health then if there's only one facility? And the facility might have had like 25, 30 beds.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you have that one facility and only 25, 30 beds and your population is 600 youth alone, how does that ever correlate and work?
Okay. Now,
hopefully that's a little better.
Is there, for everybody else in the live, is there an echo? If we're all talking?
Hello.
Hello.
No echo. Okay.
Perfect.
Look at that. It works.
Well, thank you for inviting me in.
All right, so Daniel, you're a friend of Shane's, and do you work in mental health care?
I don't work in mental health care, but I do a lot for trans rights advocacy. Okay. I have a trans son, and
so do I.
Back a year ago, we got the New York Trans Safe Haven Bill passed into law. Actually, Shane was there with me at the Capitol during the first meeting, and he was there standing in front of the governor at the beginning of the Manhattan Pride Parade almost exactly a year ago today as we watched her sign that bill into law, making New York State a trans safe haven. So I do a lot with mental health. My partner is actually a director at an Ivy League college, and her whole field, her PhD, her master's is all in adolescent health, adolescent wellness, and communication. So she's the smart one. I'm just the cute one that does social media. But,
you're the cute one that does social media.
I'm building an art studio that's going to help support kids in traditionally marginalized communities, and
awesome.
Working on that and making sure that people have safe spaces that they can heal. And so, I mean, men's mental health is really something important to me. Shane's giving his experiences for sure, and I love listening to Shane because he's a wealth of knowledge and a kind human being, just all around amazing.
He is. So we love you, Shane. Everyone should be following these two guys.
We love you, Shane.
I love you guys too.
uh, I feel like so often, it, I grew up in this world as this straight dude, and I have two kids that are in the LGBTQI community, and the most important thing to me has always been showing and sharing kindness. And I feel like, that whole statement of like just suck it up, you should be tough because you're a guy. I've heard that whole thing my whole life, and I feel like one of the toughest things for men, one of the worst things for men in our society is misogyny. We are victims to our own bullshit, and it hurts. It hurts all of us. It hurts everyone, but it hurts men too. And so often, like guys like me that are I'm huge in stature. I'm a big dude, and people tend not to like necessarily aggressively attack me, but they try and attack my masculinity on a regular basis, and I get that all the time here on the app in my comment section. I am somebody who cares about kindness and lifting others up, and something about that to some of these alpha, type of men is that they try and question who I am as a man. And I mean, somebody like me, I've found strength in the fact that I know that their opinion of me isn't me, but I know for a lot of people that's really hard to look past, and that changes the very aspects of who a person is, So I don't know. I feel like we have so many opportunities to just spread kindness and to change the world. Like this next generation coming up really has opportunities to change the world through acts of kindness. And the best way that we can be examples of that is by being examples of what's right to do instead of what's wrong to do.
I don't know if you were in here at the beginning, Dan. I had said that
I missed part of it. Sorry.
Our age group is like that buffer almost now. Like we're teaching our kids to express themselves, whereas we weren't fully always given that chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up. Depending on who your dad was or grandfather was, you were told, suck it up, buttercup. Wash your leg off and go back out and do it again. It didn't matter if your bone was sticking out. It just go back out and get down.
No, I'm an old Gen X, and I remember our next door neighbor, Shirley, was horrified that my mother was actually teaching my brother how to vacuum, do the dishes, clean, iron, things like that. And she was like, why are you doing that? And my mom's like, well, he's going to live by himself eventually someday, and I want him to be independent. And she's like, well, he needs a wife to do that for him. And it's so that sort of toxic putting you into a box. Like he was considered, she was thinking, oh, you're a sissy, you're ironing for your mom. It's like, no, he's learning a life skill.
He's learning life skills. Yeah, I learned, my stepdaughter, I sewed her prom dress. I hemmed her prom dress. I learned how to crochet at a young age. I grew up with my dad mostly uninvolved, and my mom was, the major parent role. But if you look back at the way that I grew up, even with the details of the way that my mom raised me, internal misogyny was passed on through her. Some of the things that she was saying to me were very much like, I'm doing stuff, like I'm learning how to do stuff. It's a trade, and it's okay. And if you're not comfortable with it, now I had the pleasure of having my grandmother, and the art studio is actually named after my grandmother, but she was the most remarkable person that the world has ever seen. She tried to become a college professor before they allowed women to become college professors, and she actually came down with what they thought was tuberculosis, and they were going to send her to a sanitarium, so she decided she wasn't going to continue to fight for that. But when she retired, she traveled the Northeast on her motorcycle, and with my grandfather, and she became a minister before women were allowed to be ministers, and she had a website before most people knew what the internet was, and she got her first tattoo at 85, and
good for her.
She cared about people. And right before she passed away, I remember having a conversation with her because my son is trans and pansexual, and explaining to her what all of the different terms meant. And we got to pansexual, and she goes, wow, I love that. You mean I could just love whoever I wanted to love for who they are and not anything
Yeah.
else? And I'm like, yeah, Grandma. And she's like, that's what I want to be. I want to be that because I want to love everyone for who they are and not how they identify, not what they look like. I just want to love people. And I feel like I was infinitely lucky to have this remarkable woman in my life. She taught me so many levels of kindness and understanding and acceptance. So it was a good life to live, you know.
One of the
Uh,
things that I looked in the statistics that I was sort of horrified at is it says that men in the United States are at what is it, 79 times higher for unaliving themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm not a licensed anything, but we did get some training at school in prevention.
yeah,
And one thing that they were talking about is they're like, if somebody comes to you and expresses that, it's fine to say, "Are you thinking of hurting yourself right now?"
yeah, absolutely.
And if they say yes, then they're like, you need to step in and say, "I am going to get you to a facility. I will put you in my car. I will sit in the
Mm-hmm.
waiting room with you. We can call, your mom, your spouse, your child, whoever is but I'm going to stay there with you until they get you admitted and get in bed for you, until you get some help." And if they say, because some people, it's ideation, and they're like, okay, well, if it's not an immediate emergent situation, they're like, you still need to check in with them.
Yeah,
Because I've had, like, my sister Annie, her brother unalived himself, and she said we had men are very good at hiding it, and
Mm-hmm.
she said it felt like it came completely out of left field. So
Sometimes
my
I feel like as men, we learn how to hide those thoughts from the people that even live in our house at an earlier age than we learn to drive a car, than we
yeah,
learn to go to prom, to graduate, geometry, whatever stuff. I mean, realistically, as a minor, we learn how to hide that
yeah,
hmm,
in some cases. And for some of us, we try to push through it, we tough through it when we're in a good mental health space. We forget that we thought about those things. But when stuff in our lives and our atmospheres start going wrong, all those things we felt we dealt with start surfacing back up depending on how dark those days seem. And that's the part where
I
a lot
think
of people don't realize mental health is a lifelong journey. And there's going to be your highs, your lows, and then there's going to be those days in between. And you're hoping for those days in between, realistically.
and I'm obviously not familiar with stuffing my feelings. But I would imagine if you've done that your whole life and you do have come to a crisis and you suddenly do have all of those feelings like explode to the surface, it would be incredibly overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can't tell you in a lifetime if I kept track or counted how many times I've heard "man up." You're a guy. You should just suck it up and deal with it. And I mean, I'm almost 42 years old, and at this point in my life, there isn't a lot where people say to me where I don't sort of correct them. If it's an
Yeah.
awful rhetoric that hurts people, then I'll correct them. But there was definitely a time in my life where fighting back the feelings in order to look strong in front of others. I do want to mention someone in here, and I missed it. It was a little while ago. Asked how to get out of an abusive relationship, and I think that might be important as it comes to this conversation because I'm actually a survivor from a very abusive relationship. I was in a relationship for a very long time with someone who was extremely physically and emotionally abusive, and I heard that same rhetoric so often, like just man up, just suck it up, just deal with it. And I don't think there's any one good way to get out of an abusive relationship, but it is important to understand that that actually does happen to men too. and that can be extremely traumatizing. One thing that I regularly speak with my therapist about is how I'm not, I wasn't a victim of trauma. I continue to undergo trauma because, we still have kids together. We have to interact. We have to find a way to work around the problems that we had in the past so that we can co-parent. And most of the time that means I'm parenting. But it's never my responsibility to parent my co-parent,
Right.
if that makes sense. But there's no one perfect way to get out of an abusive relationship. If you know that you're in one, finding whatever resources you can, reaching out for help. I started on this app to connect with my kids when they were away. My kids mean everything to me. I've literally made every decision I've made for the last 15 years to make sure that they were happy, healthy, and safe. And we have the best life because of it. I have the best partner, and I get to help people. And like my career as a mobile coffee shop owner, I make people smile and wake them up every morning, and
I
like
love
I
you.
live the best life. Yeah.
Coffee.
But
But
yeah,
you
absolutely.
remind them though that you came from like, was it 10 or 14 years of that toxic masculinity
Yeah.
physical labor job before you finally said,
Yeah.
enough is enough. I'm doing
14
this so I
years.
can advocate for my kids.
Yeah, that's actually a good story as well. 14 years, I worked as a warehouse manager in a freezer, -10 degrees, so that I could be there for my kids. And I walked away from it, mostly because the company was horrible and because they did some really awful things around Pride last year that really, really set me off. They were discriminating against a whole section of employees, breaking the law while doing it, but just being horrific to a whole set of employees, people that I loved and supported and helped to take care of. And I literally walked out the door and said, I'm going to do something to improve people's lives instead of being forced to work for somebody who's willing to beat them down all the time. But again, I started on this app just to connect with my kids and talking about mental health and all of that. Like I maybe had a few hundred followers. I was making like positive, uplifting videos to make my son smile because, he lives in a universe where half of his life is incredibly affirming and he feels unconditionally loved and supported, and half of his life isn't quite that same. So I was making videos for him, and somebody came to one of my videos and told me that I helped to save their life that day. That the motivation, the positive, uplifting nature of the content that I created was enough to keep them on this earth, and that like forever changed my journey here. I knew I wasn't just making videos for my kids anymore, and I still make videos just for my kiddos. Like they are incredible little people, but I also make videos to help other people because that's what changes the world. If I can make the world a little bit better a place for my kids to grow up in, that's going to
Right.
be life changing. And it's stupid that I do this. I'm probably saying too much by saying that I do this, but every time I get that message, I have a leather bound book up in my room. And every time I get a message like that, like you helped to save my life, I put a little heart in the book.
Good.
And I don't do it like it's not a reward for me, but it's a reminder that even when, like right now, my views have been nothing. I had a
So
video
have mine.
that had over 50% people watched it all the way through. This was just a couple of days ago. Over 50% watched it all the way through. There were more than 50% engagement with the video to views, and it only got 1,000 views. So like when I get to those moments where I'm like, okay, nobody's seeing my videos, I'm not reaching anybody, I go to that book and I look and I go, you know what? I'm not here for views. I'm not here for likes. I'm not here for follows. I'm here to make sure that people are okay. And the people that need to see my videos, they're going to see it because that's
Right.
just what has to
And just
happen. And I
so, I
still
mean,
get those messages.
it can be very discouraging when you're like, I think I'm doing everything right. I'm trying to make
Yeah.
good content, and you're just flat. And I've heard
Yeah.
so many content creators, big to tiny, saying that. And I even was pretty discouraged yesterday and reached out to a friend who is a huge content creator and got a little pep talk. And they
Yeah.
said they are going through, TikTok actually is going through an algorithm change right now.
Yep.
And everyone is, because I'm seeing content from creators that I
Months
follow
ago.
that's 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
what is this? So it
Yep.
does happen. But what you said about making a difference in people's lives is one of the reasons that I am maybe a little bit mean sometimes with people. And in really like telling people you need to use your voice because I cannot be your voice. And I don't
Yeah.
care if you have one follower. You may say something, like you said, and you did it for your son, but somehow it resonated with a complete stranger
Yeah.
and saved their life.
Mm-hmm.
So use your voice. And it doesn't matter if you've got bad teeth, if you've got a pimple on your nose, if you're fat, skinny, old, young, whatever. Use your voice. It can be that powerful.
Absolutely. It, use your voices. I mean, Shane, man, my friend, we are sitting here at the cusp of a 1 year anniversary from the Trans Safe Haven bill just because I couldn't sit here and watch people that I care about be at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I wanted to help create a safe space, and you stood by me. I am so proud of you. I'm so thankful for you, Shane.
I'm
I
thankful
think
for you too.
That's it.
and I
That's
think he's one of the most magnificent people I've ever met. And I feel very blessed that Shane came into my family, our family, and now you're
yeah.
part of it too, Daniel. Sorry, you just got adopted. Uh,
I love
I
it.
hope that's okay, Dan.
we
Oh,
celebrate
totally
whatever
okay.
holidays you like,
Uh,
just bring some
so
cake and juice boxes.
So the 25th is not only the anniversary of the Trans Safe Haven bill, but in my house I celebrate 2 days every year with my kids. I celebrate their birthdays. I mean, we celebrate like, Christmas and other holidays, but I celebrate their birthday and I celebrate both of their coming out days.
Oh, nice.
My so the 25th is also my daughter's coming out day. So that's like she's
Excellent.
not prepared for the celebration party. It becomes a little ridiculous because I'm kind of that fun dad too. I'm not just the one that like instills all of the important knowledge and all of the stuff that helps to keep them safe outside of my house, but I'm also the one that like will be in full rainbow regalia,
Excellent. Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
be
dye my hair.
yeah, I'm going to have my
I don't
hair
have
dyed.
that.
Yeah, you'll need the markers changed.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm going to have my whole top dyed rainbow for Pride in Omaha, and my son and his spouse, Bat, are marching in the parade with the Humane Society. So I'm going to be
Yeah.
the crazy mom on the side, screaming. And I'm going to have my friend Jamie there. And I'm like, so we're just going to embarrass you. And he's like, okay. But even, I mean, he's not a 12-year-old. He's going to be 30. And it's like, you still should have your mom doing that. Shane needs a rainbow wig.
Shane, my friend, I probably have one. Let me look through my wig collection.
I
I
You
think
know
I
what?
might have a
The wig would be
tutu.
better than Willow's suggestion of dyeing the beard.
Actually, the beard might be really cool.
That could be
The
cool.
problem is I don't know if the new superintendent that's coming in, that's from the
Uh,
South, is going to approve of that at
I
You
work.
could
there.
do. They
There's
have
glitter
spray
somewhere, but
dye.
that goes everywhere.
They've got spray dye, and you
True.
could actually make like a cardboard form to do, and it would
Uh,
wash out that night.
Shane, remind me later. I have a temporary hair dye that I use on my daughter's hair, and it lasts for usually 24 hours, but it's not like one of those ones where it's like it dies. Like
Yeah,
it kind of coats the hair, and
yeah.
Okay, that's good
it
because the
washes
silver
out.
will absorb any color.
Well, we could always get you a just for men thing for afterwards.
Yeah.
Over dye it black or brown.
But no, like, I know Dan shared a little bit of his platform, how he started. Like, my platform
when I finally came on TikTok was more to expand the online ministry part of what I was doing. And at that point, I still was focusing on mental health as far as like reminders. So I did like Therapy Tuesday, Thankful Thursday. And a lot of those were just to give yourself daily affirmations or to give someone a daily reminder that their life matters in this world.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter who it was, how many people saw the video. I mean, even now, like my backup page has probably triple the views as this page does on any given day. And I'm like, you know what? Oh, well, if it's an important message I want shared, I put it on my backup page now.
I have the same thing. I have been doing badly on my main page, and Flossie May is doing great
Yep.
on my
My
backup page. And my backup page is just weird, Daniel.
yeah. Well, mine's my coffee shop. So
Oh, how
this is my mobile
cool!
coffee shop, and my backup page is literally just my coffee shop page, and I've been getting 3 to 4 times the amount of views with only like 2,000 followers.
The thing is, like, I have 1/10 or 1/13 of the followers on my backup as I do on this one. And even
Yeah.
this one is still a small account
Yeah,
if in comparison. But I'm like, it doesn't matter how many people I reach. Although I
Yeah.
do need to start doing what you're doing, Dan, which is like putting something in a keepsake book for myself as like, you've reached this person.
Hmm.
As a reminder, when I hit those hard days myself, that what I'm doing is important. What I'm saying is important. And
So
that's honestly the push I keep telling myself. When I'm exhausted, I don't feel like coming on social media, but I still post my morning video, even if I don't check anything else the rest of the day,
right.
just so that that video is out there in case that right person needs to see it.
Shane, I do want to say it's kind of been important for me to show it to my kids too. Like I share openly with my kids what I talk about in therapy because I want to destigmatize therapy for them. I want
Mm-hmm.
them to feel comfortable about what happens in therapy and the breakthroughs that I make. And I also share with them that type of thing because it's an understanding that other people have struggles too. It's not a them thing. They aren't alone.
Right.
And Dad's here. Dad's here to help. Mandy is the best stepmom the world has ever seen. She is so patient and kind, and my world changed the moment that I met her. She's most definitely the love of my life. But they have good resources, and when they're hurting, they're not alone. And so, like, I find that type of thing really helps my kids, and having a trans son in this world, like he's fighting all the darn time. And I know,
Mm-hmm.
Shane, you have a non-binary kiddo, but I feel like he would love nothing more than people not know that he's trans. He'd love nothing more than to just be passing so that he could live this world
Yep.
and feel safe.
How old
And
is he?
he's 15.
15. Okay. It's a hard age.
Um, yeah, he's got great friends. We had trouble at school, and some of those administrators no longer are employees with the school.
Good.
So we faced some uphill challenges where like people weren't willing to give him bathroom options. And I'm not asking for them to change every bathroom in a school. That's not what I was asking for. I walked in and said, "Hey, is there any chance we could offer one non-gender specific bathroom in the school for the trans kids?" And I wasn't being specific to my kid. I was saying for all of the kids who need a gender non-specific bathroom. For any kid who might be entering into a space who's getting bullied in a bathroom, like
Mm-hmm.
just offer an option to your students for one single stall bathroom, which they had in the school already. One single stall bathroom that's non-gender specific that any kid can use and feel safe in there. And
Yeah.
that was an uphill battle. And like I said, there are some people who retire early. So like you say, sometimes it's tough love, and sometimes I have to share tough love. I'm not all butterflies and rainbows. Sometimes I have to
Right.
be a little tough and advocate for my kids and their rights and show them that that's their right to do. But
I thought you were a big teddy bear.
I am a big teddy bear. Like I can't tell you how many people just like wander by my coffee shop, and I'm purposefully I am a little bit anonymous. I share a little bit of anonymity on the internet because I am creating safe spaces. And when you create safe spaces, you also put targets on those safe spaces. So like the art
Mm-hmm.
studio is, I'm going to be supporting kids and I have a responsibility to keep those kids safe. So I'm always purposefully a little anonymous about where I am, where I'm parking with my coffee shop. Like I know I could use my platform and probably be busier and boost my business, but the reality is the people that I care about deserve to be safe. So
They do.
when someone shows up and they're like, "Oh my God, you're the TikTok guy," like I can't tell you how many hugs I get. It's always
Yeah.
fine. Consent is king. As long as you ask for permission, I will always give a hug.
I got several dad hugs when I was in Oklahoma City at
Yeah.
Pride. It's like if you had a free dad hug shirt on. I was older than most of the dads. I'm like I still need one, you know. But I'll tell you that the little things that dads do actually make a huge impact. There was one kid who's graduated now. I work in a grade school,
Yeah.
and his dad packed his lunch, but on the napkin always either wrote like a little something, an encouraging word, or like a dumb dad joke. Everyone wanted to see those every day. So he'd be sharing them with the other kids.
Hmm.
I mean, and that's just those little things like that. But I mean, and then people talk about us, indoctrinating children. We have a kindness program at our school, and we actually practice things like giving a compliment, receiving a compliment. And some of those are even hard for the adults. One of my friends
Hmm.
who's a math teacher, she does not receive compliments well. So during our month of receiving compliments, I would come in her room and give her a compliment in front of all the kids. And at first she was just like, "Uh, thank you." But all the kids were like, it's okay, just say thank you. And it's okay,
Yeah.
you really are nice. You know, the little alphas I will always be impressed with. Um, School is different because it is a lot more open than it was when I was in school. It was a lot more
Yeah.
regimented in the 70s and 80s. We didn't have gay straight alliance. If you were the gay kid, you were going to get beat up. And that was just a given. And we had a trans student, this was a couple years ago, who was having a bad day, and it was something to do with a crush on somebody. And they started to cry and asked if they could go in the hallway. They were an older student. And instead of making fun of their classmate, 6 of his classmates asked if they could go out in the hallway with him just to sit with him and give him support. And so
That's amazing.
I found all these kids in the hallway, and I'm like, what are you guys doing out here? And there was no administrator around or anything that I could get, because I usually try and, I'll get the counselor or somebody who's trained better than I am.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of gave them their space, and they all worked it out, and eventually they all went back, and I asked him, are you okay? And yeah. And
That's
I
beautiful.
I said, what are your pronouns? And he was like, oh, he, him. And I was like, okay. And I got some little buttons from Amazon that were pronoun pins. And a couple days later, I had like 3 different ones. I was like, do you want one? And he was like, yeah. And so I said, well, you can take 2. And but our counselor has stuff like that too. And it's like, you're just
Yeah.
affirming
Mm-hmm.
that I see you and you're
Little things.
valid and you're
Yep.
fine the way
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
You know,
Gosh. Our responsibility as parents is to make sure that our kids are happy, healthy, and safe.
yeah.
Like that's it. We don't need to dictate who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Exactly.
a single cell to do with and some DNA to do with the making of my kids. and the rest of it is the experiences that they have in their life. And I give them all of the most amazing ones I have the ability to give them.
And
that
my
means
hope
love.
is that these little alphas, by the time they're our age, talking about stigmas in mental health, or that men have a higher rate of unaliving themselves, will be not even an issue.
Agreed.
You know.
Agreed. Yeah. I think
So-
we have a ways to go with removing some stigma.
I do
Gosh.
too, and I think it's so stupid when it's like, you know, they're saying man up or just tough it out, and that I think is much harder for men. But I've heard it too with even me. You know, oh, you're fine, I'll just tough it out, get over it, stop being sad. It's like, how do you do that? If there was a switch in me that was the sad switch, I'd turn it off. You know, and it's mental health is healthcare. So you wouldn't tell your cousin who has diabetes to just get over it and tough it out without intervention of a healthcare worker.
And that's the part that I think has always
Absolutely.
pushed that stigma further, is the fact that mental health was never looked at as health.
Right.
Health was physical ailments, you know, infectious diseases, things like that. It was never psychological and things where, are we actually mentally okay? It didn't matter if you were mentally okay, whether it was to be on your own or to be in a, you know, in a relationship, whatever it was, well, you're physical okay. You can go reproduce and make babies, so we're okay.
Yeah, get back
Doesn't
to work.
matter. Yeah, exactly. Get back to work. And that also stems
Where's the
down
duct
from
tape?
the toxic
Sorry,
patriarchal
Shane.
society that we've been living in for years.
Yeah.
You know, the man is supposed to be the dominant one, and that comes from the churches, that comes from society in the past.
It
And
does.
it's like, can we just get some women in there to like shut all the men up and move forward? Because men have failed for how many years?
I live in a house
All of
with
that.
an incredibly strong woman, you know, a woman who's an Ivy League director, and just absolutely is like incredibly strong, incredibly smart, and I always find it amazing when people are threatened, when you know, straight men are threatened by that, because for me it's like, I love the fact that she's powerful and strong and kind and amazing. Like, this is the most incredible person the world has ever seen, and I feel lucky that I get to be with her. And I know a lot of other men are really intimidated by that. So it's always stunningly amazing to me when I hear something like, "Oh, is that really the type of woman you want to be with?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Well, wouldn't you want a strong partner that would be contributing emotionally, physically, financially, whatever, to your life?
Yeah.
And I think that's like a lot of the pushback we see now in society too, is you have those that they want that rule of thumb of the woman stays home and makes babies and tends to the house chores, and the man is the provider fiscally, and that's it. But what has that led to? That's led to addiction problems. That's led to all these other things. And then you have, you know, critical thinking people like all of us that are like, no, we want to have a partner that's a partner, not a person that we just dictate what they're going to do when they're going to do it.
Yeah.
We want that 50-50 split. We want that, you know,
Yeah.
emotional
this.
connection and everything.
I love this statement right here in the comments. The feminine energy needs to be brought back into balance, because I believe that is a huge, huge problem in our society today, is that the feminine balance is, you know, the quote unquote masculine feminine balance is way off. There's too much of this toxic masculinity just floating around, and it hurts everyone. It hurts everyone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm sure as Dan knows, it comes to our pages a little too often for our liking. I have lost my patience on dealing with it, so whereas Dan and a couple other friends can be calmer toned in their replies, my emotion comes out, and like my wife heard me yesterday through the wall, like giving it to some YT Christian person coming into a comment section and ignoring the fact that it was a 12-year-old that was the assaulted
Yeah.
part, and they couldn't acknowledge that, but they just kept coming back of, why are you attacking Christians, to like a friend's comment section. And I'm like, and they said one thing, and I was like, look, I went through 15 comments of yours and they all triggered me more, so here's my raw response.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there praying to God. I was like, please don't have this be the reason why I can't go live with Rosie tomorrow. But I couldn't handle the ignorance that was coming out of every comment.
I think I get saturation pretty. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm so over some of the old BS that we keep sort of digging up and reviving. It's like, no. You know, I want that women are, white women do things that just drive me crazy. But on one hand, I guess I understand it, because they do a lot of sort of indoctrination. That you are supposed to be skinny and beautiful and find the captain of the football team and get married and have children. So you get the house and you can be in the mother's group and you can move into a great suburb, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and it's like being the pretty Barbie doll and living in the great plastic house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if that's all you want. And you have to fight to get out of that glass bubble.
So I have someone that I'm mutuals with on here, and her name's Sarah, and she's also got a trans kiddo that's a little younger than mine, and her comment section is horrific. And these same people wouldn't leave this level of comments for someone like me. So I can imagine that your comment section is probably a little more vicious than mine. I'm sure you see some rough stuff.
Well,
Because I know
everyone
for sure
always
that there's
assumes
things.
I'm going to be some nice, sweet little grandma, and I'm not. And I will give it right back to you. And that really throws a lot of people that assume I'm just going to be like, oh, well, I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings. Go ahead and call me a fat, ugly sow. And it's like, no. So the pushback from me is something I think some of them don't expect.
Yeah. I think that's powerful, though. I think the way that I approach things is different than the way that you approach things.
Sure.
It's a different way than what Shane approaches things. And when I see your content, when I see your videos, it comes off as powerful. It gives a lot of voice and meaning to the words that you're sharing, because you're passionate about it, you believe it, and you're willing to stand up when somebody's doing something wrong. So I think that carries a lot of power.
And to me, that's something that I guess I have to do, because my father was an unmedicated mental patient who was abusive, and he quit abusing me the first time I hit him back. And a lot of bullies are that way. They will keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it until you fight back and say, you call them out on it and say, absolutely not. So, because I always think if I get somebody in my comment section that's doing it to me, if I just ignore it, they're going to do it to one of my friends next.
Yeah.
And I'll be complicit in it. So.
Last week I got latched onto by a conservative podcaster, and I'm at the point where like 30 different accounts came to attack me and my content, and I'm sort of at the point where I'm almost wondering if it was this podcaster who actually created all of these accounts because they're all like nameless, faceless, and he's trying to create some controversy so he can spark some clout for himself. Because I tried to look up this guy's name and I'm like, I don't know who this is, and it doesn't seem like very many people even know who this is. But clearly
Right.
they've latched onto me in a way that's pretty negative, and so I'm always sort of doing a little bit more due diligence as far as who's writing these awful comments. If it's somebody nameless and faceless, unless I can use that and springboard that to educate someone else. And a lot of times, like I'm using like bad rhetoric to educate people like me
Yeah.
on how to speak against bad rhetoric. Like I'm not trying to change people's minds in that in that aspect of it. If somebody's willing to leave an awful and hateful comment, then they're probably never going to learn from my 60-second video on how to act appropriate.
No, there's
But
some that will never learn.
yeah,
I've had a couple trolls that have followed me around for 3 years. One
Yeah.
of them I know has had at least 15 in different accounts that have been taken down because of hate speech and things like that. But they keep coming back. It's like, you must have a very boring existence.
Well, I already know that my worst troll is my biggest bully is my kid's biggest bully as well. So that's just kind of one of those circumstances I have to deal with. And every few months she creates a half a dozen new accounts to harass me with. So, but
I guess like I like your back.
I'm like, okay, block. Okay, block. I
Well,
know what this is.
I mean, some of the trolls just aren't interesting. They say the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, oh, come on, at least be fun.
I almost wonder how many of those are like AI bots. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if there's like some level of AI bot that's like being generated just to create controversy.
Oh, I think sometimes people do that on purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's some people, if you go to their page as a troll, look at their content, and it's all comment responses. So they're trying to get you to respond. And there's a couple of them that have come after me like that, and instead of giving them a comment that they want and can respond to, I will give them like a random fact about llamas. And they're like, what? And then some, my friends will join in. I mean, we have had recipe tips and the history of,
I
bean
love
dip,
that.
and they are so confused by that because they can't use that on their page.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah, random facts about llamas is great. Random facts about frogs, recipe tips, those, you can get recipe tips just going about forever. But
Yeah.
they don't know what to do with that. They want to fight, and they got a random fact about frogs.
And really, they just
Oh
want
my God, I
you to
love
say
you.
something out of emotion back that they can use. So
And
when
then
you
they
give
can
them,
put that up. They've got a video, and they use you for content.
Yep.
And my moderators are great with weird random facts.
Hey Shane, I think we're gonna have to get good with weird random facts now.
There's
Yeah.
also there's a
true.
random text generator that I use sometimes that they use it sometimes for testing websites and things like that. And it's just random words. But the one I found will translate it into like 18 different languages. So I'll do random text and I'll translate it into Polish, and then I cut and paste and put it in there, and they translate it, and it makes absolutely no sense. It's like, it's random words in Polish. So that's what you
You
get
make me
sometimes.
smile.
I was like, Dan, I think that might be what we have to do next for some of our replies.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say the most that I will usually do a video reply on a comment is if someone is attacking who I hold dear to me from this app, that are considered family, basically. That's when I think my emotional quick response fuse happens. And I try to keep my video TikTok PC, but also show the emotion that what you're saying is not okay.
Yeah.
On this person's page, next person's page, whatever. This rhetoric,
Yeah.
this toxic verbiage, it's not okay. And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's coming from that same maybe lack of them treating their own mental health.
Right.
Or just apparently they just want to be an awful person in life. Whichever it might be, but those comments getting put on pages, and the ones that really bother me the most, unfortunately, are that conservative Christian view that want to just scripture bomb and tell kids they're abominations and that they're going to hell. And it's like, first of all, you don't even know if that kid believes in it.
Right.
The same as you. Second of all, you obviously don't understand the book that you're reading or you haven't read it. And I know we've all had these conversations before in different lives, in different settings, in different text chats. And I'm tired of that rhetoric because it's not like it got original. It's not like they change it.
Right.
It's like the same 5 scriptures. It's the same verbiage that comes out. And it's like, okay, great. So you listen to fake Fox News to get your information. And the guy in the pulpit who obviously is a bigot and hates people.
Yeah.
And you're using your white Jesus as a mascot.
And if you're weaponizing your religion against somebody, doesn't seem like religion. You know. And I can't remember whose live I was in, but it was where they were talking about the 10 Commandments being in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh my God, that was the worst.
Right, but I said, then there was a lady in there saying, well, why doesn't hurt anybody? Why is it a problem? And I said, okay, again, I work in a grade school, and this was probably 3 years ago, and we were in a music class, and I do special education, so I was accompanying a student to the music class, and I was actually in the class because I was sitting with them, and it was around Christmas time, and we were also doing circle, and she said, I want to go around in the circle, and you tell everyone what your favorite holiday is. And a lot of kids said Christmas, but we also had Yule, we had Diwali, we had Eid, we had all of these other holidays. And these children weren't being coerced to say that. They were just saying, yeah, Holi is my favorite holiday because they're Hindu. I mean, it's like, so you're assuming that it's all okay, one size fits all, and it doesn't. I mean, I can tell you, I know students in my school that are, Hindu and Sikh and Church of Satan, Satanic Temple and Wiccan and the whole pagan and and Christian and Muslim, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't one size fits all, and you try to weaponize that against a lot of us that aren't Christian, and it's kind of like, well, are you worried about not going to Valhalla? They'll say you're not going to heaven. Okay.
I mean, that falls into that whole category. Like, we all have the same beliefs as atheists, no matter what we believe in. We just believe in one less religion not existing than they do.
Yeah, the whole thing of, and I was raised Presbyterian. I was raised very conservative Presbyterian. So it's like, oh, don't try to out-Bible me, I had way too much church as a child.
Yeah, I went to one of those Christian evangelical mega churches in my teens.
Oh, God.
And my grandmother was a minister, but she lived in a different state at that time. So, I have her church tattooed on my leg. That was where I was home. My grandma was a safe place, and she was a safe place for anyone who used her church as a spiritual place. And but I remember walking into this mega church, and when you walk through, you had to walk through the store. So they wanted you to shop in the store before you walked into the church. And I remember walking into this, into this big hall, and it was white, and all the curtains were white, and there was light music on, and like everybody felt good walking into that space, and it was like a good feeling. But then the way they talked while you were there, it was like the world is sin, everything outside of here is sin. And you got that endorphin rush when you were in there, the same as when you go to a rock concert or anything else where there's a big congregation of people who are all collectively there to do the same thing. And then when you left that space, you felt awful about yourself because you felt like you were entering into sin. The whole world is sin. And you did anything that you could to get back into that space. Right. It was a drug. They were getting us addicted to a drug. And it was one of those churches that had a mandated tithing. So they required that you share your tax records with them. So they knew how much you made the year before, so that they knew you were giving them 35% of your income.
35%?
Like, it wasn't forced. 35% of your income, then somebody from the church would consistently come to see you to see why you weren't.
You're breaking up, Daniel.
Yeah.
We're losing you.
Is it better now?
Looks like you're. Yeah, there you are.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it was.
And the toxic masculinity that I did not grow up in an evangelical church. Presbyterians are pretty boring. But we had a really good music program. But other than that, no, there was no gift shop. There was no guitars. There was no fancy anything. It was stand up, sit down, sing a song, listen to the minister, leave. But yeah, 35% is really high. I've never heard of that before. And they have to give your tax forms, and it's not about money, I guess. Yeah. But even in the Presbyterian church,
I was just about to turn 18.
Yeah, sorry. That toxic masculinity that they were teaching was part of the indoctrination for the boys. Mm-hmm. You know, when you hear from the Bible that women are supposed to be silent, okay.
And that's a lot of the comments I see on mutuals like Rev Val from them is, you're supposed to be silent. Why are you even doing videos?
Right.
And the cloth and the collar on your neck mean nothing because you're a woman. And it's like, pretty sure she's worth more than your meaningless comment is.
Right.
Like, but I also know, like, Val's got it. I don't have to chime in on those ones.
Rev Val's got it. So does Carla. I mean,
yep. They hand it
both
right
of them
back
are
to them
basically.
In about 2 seconds.
Yeah, both of them are told that they should be quiet. Must be hitting a nerve. So,
hey.
Well, I'm gonna stop the live. I want to thank both of you for coming, and between the two of you, I don't know what I've got for gifts today. But if you have a charity that you'd like me to donate it to, give me a link. You two decide which one, and whatever I made in gifts today, I will donate it to that charity in honor of both of you. So I really want to thank you for this.
Thank you for having us.
And there's been a lot of really good discussion in this, and if you can reach out to some of the people in the comments, follow Shane, follow Daniel, and work on making sure that this stigma is not around in a few generations.
That's the hope.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thanks for doing this, Rosie.